Hey, can everybody hear me? All right. Here we go. Jumping right on in. What is happening, everybody? Just getting a quick audio check. Hopefully, you guys can hear me okay. We're using a new program today, so I guess we'll see how this goes. Chat, let me know if you guys can hear me real quick. Yep, doing something a little new today. So let's see. All right, good. We are working. Everything is working good. Yeah, changed over my program today, so we'll see how this all goes, guys. Thank you all so much for being with me. Monday, August 17th, 2026. My name is Kevin Smith. Thank you all so much for tuning in to Loud Majority Live. We got a jam-packed show for you guys today. Very good stuff. Very good stuff. We're gonna be talking about the Candace Owens debate. My thoughts on it. If you guys watched Tim Pool on Friday night, you already know my take on it. And haha, spoiler alert, it's not great. It's not very good at all. Also, we're going to get some Iran war updates. Teachers are going absolutely wild, finally speaking out about craziness going on within the schools. And a very sad story. Young actress died last night. Somebody I was a huge fan of. I'm sure you guys know who she is. So we will break all that down for you guys. But before we get started, do me a favor and hit that thumbs up button. Share the video out all over the place. We are rocking. We are rolling here. Here we go. Let's see. Can we pull? Yeah, once again, like I said, we're using a new program today. So today's show is going to be a little bit different. Hopefully it all goes swimmingly. But we'll see. Before we get started, guys, do me a favor and hit that thumbs up button. Share the video out all over the place. We are rocking. We are rolling here. Head on over to loudmajorityusa.com. That's loudmajorityusa.com. Sign up for the newsletter. Check out our shop. That is the best way to support this show and everything we've got going on over here. You guys can use promo code Rumble to get 20% off everything on the website. That is promo code Rumble to get 20% off everything on the website. So, Candace Owens, Andrew Wilson debate. I mean, look, first off, I think if you watched it, you're probably dumber than you were before you started. It was completely pointless. Nothing was achieved. Well, one thing was achieved. If you went in thinking a certain way, you probably still think that certain kind of way. Candace finally did admit that she has no proof whatsoever that Israel or France was involved in Charlie Kirk's assassination, which of course, wasn't really the case. Which, if you're not a crazy person, you probably knew to begin with. It was all vibes. It was all feelings. On numerous occasions during the debate, Andrew Wilson asked Candace Owens whether or not she had any positive evidence of any of her claims. Now, I don't think Candace Owens knows what the phrase positive evidence is. I don't know if she knows. I think she thinks that like evidence is just something you feel, which is a lot of what the debate was. It was all vibes. It was all feelings. Anytime she got put into a corner, she was like, well, I'm allowed to have my opinions. I'm allowed to have, which like, if you have an opinion that, and I've said this to numerous people before, that like, if you have the opinion that the moon is made out of cheese or that 2 + 2 = 5, your opinion is incorrect. There was like, all that like self-help guru bullshit in the 90s. That was all. Everyone's got the right to their own opinion. Yeah, well, everyone does have the right to their own opinion, and I have the right to say that your opinion makes you sound like a moron. And that's pretty much what the totality of the Candace Owens Andrew Wilson debate was. He tried to pin her down several times, and look, Andrew Wilson had a tough job for sure. He had to prove a negative. He had to prove something didn't happen. He had to use Candace Owens' lack of evidence to prove that what she was saying was false, which is impossible. There were also several times that I thought it was very odd that Candace seemed to suggest that because she had questions that weren't answered, therefore, like, giant gap, massive assertion, which sort of seemed like what it was. It's like FBI investigate. If Candace Owens comes out with a claim, investigators from the FBI should then reach out to her to let her know what the reality on the ground is. Which of course is complete and aggressive nonsense. But I think my friend Primetime Alex Stein said it the best. Candace didn't win the debate. Andrew didn't win the debate, but Charlie certainly lost it.
The loser of this debate was Charlie. Charlie lost in this debate. Watching this debate, the only thing that I can deduce is that Andrew Wilson was not the winner, Candace Owens was not the winner, and the true loser of this debate was Charlie. Charlie lost in this debate because we lost an American hero, we lost a future president, and he knew that he was in the crosshairs, not metaphorically, but literally. And I just hope that we do get justice, and I hope that everything comes to light, and I want to have a positive outlook like that's going to happen, but I've lost a lot of faith in the system, and I don't know if this debate really changes the narrative whatsoever. It's just people are going to believe whatever they believe before they watch it, and it's probably just going to confirm their biases. So we lost an American hero. It makes me incredibly sad to think that Charlie basically predicted his death, and the only person that lost this debate was Charlie. He's the glue that was keeping the Conservative Party together, and I don't think we'll ever be the same.
Yep. He's absolutely right. He's absolutely right. Charlie certainly lost the debate. We didn't really gain much from it, but yeah, that's what happened. People just entrenched into their own biases. People on the internet ran internet polls saying who won the debate and who didn't. I just want one bit of actual evidence and not vibes. And I got a feeling I'm not going to get it. And I said it on Tim Pool's show that Candace, look, there is a big difference between having a political feeling or an opinion about being pro-choice or pro-life, pro-gun, anti-gun, pro-tax, the rich, anti-tax, whatever the hell it is. There's a big difference between having that, because look, the pro-life people think they're correct and the pro-choice people think they're correct. The pro-gun people think they're correct, and there's arguments on either side. But this is so not that. This is just absolutely not that. And look, Candace has staked her entire reputation on this, and I said it on Tim's show. If Tyler Robinson went up to Candace Owens and said, I did it, it was me, and I acted alone, she would still say, no, you didn't. No, you didn't. We know the truth. We know they're forcing you to say it. And quite frankly, I think that's total bullshit and does a real disservice to anybody. I hope to never have to talk about this again, but I have a feeling I'm going to have to. I have a feeling I'm going to have to, as we are somehow coming up on the 1 year anniversary of what happened. And like I said, it's I don't know who got anything. Well, I know Candace, I know what she got out of it. She got $300,000. Because, nothing says I'm here for the right reasons like profiting almost $500,000 off of your friend's death. So take that with a grain of salt, put that in your pipe and smoke it. Yeah. So once again, hopefully I never have to talk about this again, but I have a feeling I'm going to have to, which bothers me in a real serious way. Bothers me in a real serious way. Guys, do me a favor and hit that thumbs up button. Once again, share the video out all over the place. Unfortunately, there won't be a live chat today because I'm using a new program, and I still got to play around with this bad boy. So we'll see what happens with that. But let's dive into the actual news. As today is day 60 of the Memorandum of Understanding, which is another phrase I hope I never have to say again, because it turns out it doesn't actually mean anything. Win the war in Iran. Pretty wild stuff happening with that whole kerfuffle. We'll get to that. Here it is from Fox.
Chief Foreign Correspondent Trey Yingst joins us live from Tel Aviv with the details. Trey.
Yeah, hey guys, good morning. Today, the Memorandum of Understanding between the United States and Iran expires. It's been 60 days since it was signed, and reports indicate very little diplomatic progress to de-escalate tension in the region and reopen the Strait of Hormuz. International shipping data indicated only 5 cargo ships passed through the strait on Saturday and none on Sunday. This is due to Iran continuing attacks on vessels. A bulk carrier reported being hit by an unknown projectile on Saturday. A day prior, an Emirati oil vessel was also targeted. President Trump said this about the critical waterway on Friday.
After we finish defeating Iran, which is being very badly defeated, pretty soon I'll be declaring the Hormuz Strait a territory of the United States. Essentially, that's what it is. We have the blockade.
The Wall Street Journal reports that Iran has been using this time to prepare for a return to conflict rather than finding a diplomatic off-ramp. Iranian and Arab officials told the Journal that Iran has produced additional missiles and drones, believing that the United States was waiting for a future attack. This comes as the Trump administration and its officials, including Jared Kushner, are in the region pursuing diplomatic avenues to address the ceasefire in Gaza. Kushner met Sunday in Egypt with Hamas chief Khalil al-Hayya to solidify the process for Hamas to lay down their weapons in Gaza. Kushner was joined by Board of Peace envoys Nikolai Mladenov and Tony Blair. Reports indicate he'll meet today with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who recently called the Board of Peace roadmap unacceptable.
Israel does not accept the 15-point document. The IDF will not carry out any withdrawal until Hamas is disarmed. And when I say disarming Hamas, it means heavy weaponry, lighter weaponry, all weaponry. And we are talking about genuine disarmament, not fictitious disarmament.
Whether it relates to Gaza or Iran, there are...
So it turns out that, even though we're trying to put an end to this, some people aren't. But you can't say that out loud because, then, I don't know what. This comes as the USS Abraham Lincoln has officially hit the longest deployment ever for any aircraft carrier. We're getting mixed reports out of the Abraham Lincoln about some pretty wild conditions happening on that boat, on the ship, I should say, because if you call it a boat, people in the Navy get very upset. They're running out of food. We're getting videos from, I'll wait to play them until we have more confirmed reports, because the Pentagon is coming out and saying that a lot of this stuff isn't happening, despite the fact that this aircraft carrier has now been at sea for almost 250 days, which is 100 days longer than the longest ever deployment. These things are, look, they're floating cities, but eventually you run out of cargo. And the reason why they can't dock is because they would have done it in Beirut, I believe Beirut, but the port that this aircraft carrier would have docked at has been blown up. So we shall see what happens with that. More good news out of the Middle East, for sure. Great stuff all around. Good stuff all around. But back here on the home front, we got a week of primaries coming up that I want to make sure I get to, which is going to be huge. On Tuesday, there's going to be primaries all over the United States, Alaska, California, Florida, and Wyoming. The big ones, obviously, to watch are House races 19 and 20 in the state of Florida, and the governor's race, where it seems as though Byron Donalds is going to be able to take that pretty handily. Now, what I am curious about and we'll get to the other races too. What I am curious about when it comes to the races in Florida is this guy, James Fishback, who he's big on social media. He's kind of a Groiper adjacent. I think he's kind of a tool, might be a closeted homosexual, which, not a big deal. Just, it's 2026, accept who you are. All the Gen Z kids seem to love him. I'm curious to see how well he does in this particular race for governor. A lot of kerfuffle about Byron Donalds not letting him on the debate stage and the party kind of rigging the whole system, which even if I don't really necessarily like the guy, the parties certainly do rig the system for the people that they want. Look, Republican, Democrat, it's just kind of what they do. That's the advantage of having the infrastructure in place like the parties do have. Also, another race to watch is the Senate race in Alaska. Democrats handed their top recruit, Mary Patola, the former rep for the state at large. She is going to be going up against Dan Sullivan, the independent, and of course, the governor's race as well in the state of Alaska. We've also, what is that? Next week, we got the special elections in Georgia to fill, I believe, is that Marjorie Taylor Greene's seat? I believe it is. And the South Carolina runoff. So we'll bring you guys all of that when it happens. When that all happens. In just a second, we are going to keep rocking. We are going to keep rolling here. Before we get to that, here's Jeremy.
Hey, everybody. If you're not familiar with, then let me introduce to you Armor Colostrum. Now, I didn't know what colostrum was up until a few years ago. I'd never even really heard of it. And then my wife turned me on to Armor Colostrum. And what colostrum does is it helps regrow your hair. Not going to lie, that's the reason that I started looking into it. But then I started noticing some other things that I could benefit from. I used to get acid reflux very badly. I used to bloat very badly. It felt like I was 10 or 15 pounds heavier than I was until I made Armor Colostrum a part of my everyday schedule. And now things have changed so very much. Let me introduce to you what Armor Colostrum actually does and what it looks like. In a study measuring immune cell response to toxin, Armor Colostrum performed 32% stronger and faster than other colostrum companies. 400 plus bionutrients activated in your life, in your body, to help regrow hair, strengthen your gut health, regrow your nails, toenails, and fingernails healthy, get rid of fungus, stop bloating, and more. And now you can get yours right now for up to $18 off each and every purchase at tryarmra.com. Promo code LFATV. Click the apply button once you've entered the code and watch your discount fall off. That is tryarmra.com/LFATV. Order now.
Alrighty, guys. Guys, head on over to tryarmor.com and use promo code LFATV. That's tryarmor.com and use promo code LFATV. So back here on the home front, we've got some big news on the immigration front from New York. Pretty wild stuff, as the state of New York is now being forced to fire El Salvadorian and Haitian workers from the government after TPS has ended. Now, of course, the irony is they probably shouldn't have hired them in the first place, but that's really not the point. Governor,
every morning starts with a choice minus coffee.
Oh.
Make yours count. Just the brew isn't just coffee.
Hold up. Sorry about that.
Traditional values and uncompromised quality.
Sorry about that. Getting a pop-up ad here. There we go. All right, let's fix that. Let's fix that real quick. Yes, Governor Kathy Hochul now has to fire all of her workers. New York Governor Kathy Hochul demanded that the Department of Homeland Security not terminate the TPS status for Haitian and El Salvadorians who are currently working for the state government. She shared the letter to DHS Secretary Mark Wayne Mullins saying that terminating a temporary protected status for hundreds of thousands of migrants is reckless and inhumane. I can't imagine why that would be the case. She said that the callous of abruptly ending TPS. The irony, of course, is that no one will explain to anyone what the T in temporary means. Right, in TPS, temporary, as in not permanent. The sudden removal of the members of our workforce and our community will impact critical services that New Yorkers rely on, with a particular impact on the healthcare industry. All right, well, maybe pay them more. This, Hochul said, is an inhumane act, and she encourages the Trump administration, DHS, to restore TPS to those who cannot return due to extremely unstable, violent crises. Yeah, no. No administration should knowingly send people back into harm's way when the law provides a clear path to protect them, she said. Many foreign nationals have seen their temporary status come to an end after years of renewal, including Somalia, South Sudan, Burma, Yemen, Syria, Honduras, Nepal, Nicaragua, Ethiopia, and Venezuela, as well as Haiti and El Salvador. Yeah, we don't need that. And the TPS status of the Lebanese in America was extended until November. No. It's time to go home. That's what temporary means. There are more than 170,000 El Salvadorians in the United States, many of whom have chosen to tattoo the phrase MS-13 directly on their forehead, which began in 2002. So apparently, temporary for El Salvadorians means a quarter of a century. Haitians began in 2010, where we took in 330,000 Haitians following the earthquakes they had there. And look, they were devastating earthquakes. They absolutely were. Is it possible, and I'm just going to roll the dice here, is it possible that perhaps, just maybe, the reason why Haiti can never rebuild after these ridiculous weather events is because we take all of their people. I mean, we've taken in like 3% of the total population of Haiti. Maybe they'd be a little bit better, or maybe the nation of Haiti would be a little bit better off if, you know, they were back in their country. I don't know. Maybe they need nurses. Maybe they need men who can build things. I'm not totally sure. But of course, Kathy Hochul would tell you that I am a bad person for suggesting such a thing. Of course, I'm the bad person for suggesting that out. So now that TPS is ending, now Kathy Hochul is trying something different. She's telling county sheriffs that they have a final ultimatum to end immigration agreements with the Trump admin or face possible legal action for violating a new state law. Well, I'm only going to speak for the county in which I live. We should continue to keep working with ICE, and if they try to come for you, we'll just stand in your way. Don't worry, we'll take care of you. In a joint statement on Friday, Kathy Hochul and Attorney General Respucia James put 7 sheriffs on notice that they will have until August 25th to terminate the so-called 287G agreements with ICE. The Democrats have sent the notices to a dozen sheriffs in July, demanding that they stop complying with ICE. Only 5 have complied. Only 5 have complied with the request. They said the remaining 7 sheriffs have 11 days to formally unwind their agreement with ICE. I'm curious to see, do they have a list of the counties? Do they have a list of the counties? Oh, they don't. Damn. That's a real shame. Some of them, legends, like Rensselaer County, which is right next to Albany, allows for necessary checks on those at the jail. That's from County Executive Steve McLaughlin, who is an absolute savage, by the way. Steve, you're doing great. Another one is Madison County Sheriff Todd Hood, who is Bruce Blakeman's running mate for governor, in case you didn't know. which wouldn't shock me. So Kathy Hochul is saying that not only can we not deport these people, but if you attempt to deport them, they are going to lock up local sheriffs. No, Governor Eyebrows. You don't get to do that. It's not your purview. It's federal law. And it's way, way more important. It's way more important than whatever sort of nonsense you have going on, Governor Eyebrows. Excuse me. Let's keep on moving and grooving here because Governor Gretchen Whitmer and I guess Gavin Newsom are like starting a podcast together, a level of cringe that is almost too much to take. Before we get to that, guys, do me a favor and hit the thumbs up button, share the video out all over the place. Rockin', rolling. We are rocking and rolling here, guys. Head on over to lfatv.us. That's lfatv.us. That is your home base, your mothership, your landing pad for all things LFA TV related. Check out the LFA TV store. And while you guys are there, consider becoming a monthly donor over at LFA TV. That is the best way to keep the lights on over here. Giddy up. Let's go. Rocking and rolling. Yeah, so let's get to this ridiculous podcast that apparently they don't really get politics, these two. They're not too bright, if you ask me. Now, what they are saying, they're actually painting President Trump in a pretty good light, which both of them, and it would not shock me if this was the 2028 presidential ticket on the Democratic side. It simply wouldn't. They're painting Trump in a pretty good light. Here they were basically talking about how anytime they call the White House, President Trump answers and does everything he possibly can to assist them in whatever they're asking for.
The second term, I didn't know what to expect, to be honest. I stumped for Kamala. You worked so hard.
Yeah.
We all worked really hard for the ticket.
Yeah.
And I woke up the next day thinking, my state voted for Donald Trump again.
Yeah.
And I got to figure out how to conduct myself here. After I tuned out for about a month.
Did you? Yeah.
I had to turn off all the social media.
Oh my gosh, right.
I watched 8 episodes of Dexter, or 8 seasons of Dexter.
You like
to cheer myself up.
I was going to get cheered up by Dexter. Jesus.
And then I came out of it. I thought, I took an oath to the people of Michigan. I got 2 years left, and I got work to do. So
yeah, open hand.
I wrote
not
him a
close
note
fist.
after his inauguration. I watched his inauguration.
You wrote him a note. Wow. Did he respond to it?
He did. He called me. I put my number in it, and I said,
wow.
Because in his inaugural speech, he said something about auto workers, and I thought, all right, there's my hook.
Opening.
Congratulations, you won the election. I noticed you talk about auto workers. If that's something you want to work on, I'd love to work with you if you want to help the industry. Here's my number. And he called me.
Good conversation.
And then he called me a number of times since then.
And you visited the White House a few times.
I did. Well, every state has had natural disasters.
Yeah.
And
I spent 90
events
minutes with him in the Oval right after.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So many of them.
That's the job.
It's the damn job. And take the heat, right? You get it.
I worked hard to make sure he wasn't in the Oval Office, but he was. And for Michigan, I got to try to show up.
And those are good meetings, right?
I've gotten some really good stuff done. Honestly,
he delivered for you guys.
I had a fighter mission at Selfridge Air National Guard Base, and I tried to get that done under the Biden administration.
And they
didn't get it over the finish line.
Yeah.
But I got it done with him. So that's a huge deal to Michigan.
Yeah.
So even though I don't like it, I know how to work with people I'm not, best friends with.
I get
so
it.
you couldn't work with President Trump. I'm sorry, you couldn't work with the Biden administration, but you were able to work with President Trump. Maybe so for all the partisan nonsensory that we continue to get out of these people. It turns out, if you want something, all you've got to do is call the president, and he finds a way to get it done. Not really making them look like they are in the best light. Maybe they don't really understand how this whole politics thing works. It's very possible. It's certainly possible, that's for sure. These people absolutely suck at this. They absolutely suck at it. But you know what? Those are 2 of the top contenders for the 2028 presidential nominee. I mean, at the very least, I would say if Gavin Newsom wins, it wouldn't shock me if he picked Gretchen Whitmer to be his running mate. First off, she's from a state that needs to be flipped. for Gavin to win. Somehow she's incredibly popular within the state. I don't know how, but she still seems to be, which is really, really odd. Really, really odd. Absolutely wild stuff. But let's keep on moving and grooving here. We do have some other stuff. Oh, this is a big one. Because on Friday's show, I showed you guys a video of a teacher crying because his students simply could not read or write. And you could just tell that this was a man that was literally at his breaking point, that he had been trying so hard for so long to be able to try to get these students to learn, but they just couldn't handle it. And like I said, I mean, a lot of people are going to fault the teacher on this one. I'm not necessarily going to do that because you could tell by that man's face that he actually really, really cared and wanted to do more. Well, here's a video of another teacher, and I hope more teachers speak out on this sort of issue. Here's another teacher that spoke at a school board meeting following a resignation just outside of Nashville, basically saying that she is unable to teach in her classroom for a number of reasons put forth by the school board.
Teacher of the Year at John F. Kennedy Middle School in Antioch this past year, and Blue Ribbon Teacher of the Year for the district. What you have in front of you right now is my resignation letter. I resigned in May. You can read those 3 pages at your leisure, but I've heard a lot of positive data in this meeting, and I just wanted to give you some facts from my firsthand experience. So first, district leaders asked me to fabricate grades for a parent who sat in the office for hours until her daughter's failing grades were changed. It creates false entitlement. What happens when these kids lie, cheat, and cry their way through school and end up as future doctors, police, or politicians? When will you protect the future of our society? Second, that same parent has harassed over 30 teachers. Teachers have filed police reports, and entire school districts have had entire schools have had restraining orders against her. Yet she's still allowed on school property, showing up to field trips her child didn't earn, and filming other students. When will you stop prioritizing parents' feelings over the safety of our teachers and our students? I heard you also mention that we're closing gaps in teacher vacancies. I want the public to know that many of those are filled with uncertified teachers. My third point, HR withheld money from my employee paycheck as well as many others. They took $500 from me specifically, and it put me behind on my mortgage. And then they sent out an email saying that they had to do it to pay other employees. When will you pay teachers what they are owed? My fourth point, the news reports that behavioral issues are down. They are not. We are simply banned from reporting them, forcing us to keep disruptive students in the classroom. Statistics are being skewed to protect the district, not our children. Our children cannot read and write. They cannot do basic math. And we spend 40 hours a week with these students, so we know them better than the district and those fake numbers. Please stop undermining our professional decisions, because honestly, it's breaking the efficiency and it's giving HOA quality. So Dr. Battle, my question to you
Thank you. The time.
Okay.
But
I mean, it's pretty wild that we continue to see stories like these. Kids just being passed along in schools, not really learning anything, not really showing up. And teachers are just supposed to kind of let it happen. Let it happen. And the problem with it is then what? Kids go on to college. They learn nothing there. Then they go out in the world and they think they are the intelligent ones. They think that they know all of what is going on. But none of them really have any idea. And that's how you end up with idiots like this. That's how you end up with idiots like Chelsea Handler. Now, I don't even really like talking about Chelsea Handler because she literally is one of the stupidest people on planet Earth. But for some reason, liberals keep putting her on television, so I have to keep talking about her. I mean, look, she's content gold, but the fact remains is that she used to be kind of a big deal back in like the 2000s and hasn't really accepted the fact that now she's just an old, lonely hag. But, you know, she goes on a show with Kara Swisher, another moron, and speaks so confidently about so many issues without having any idea what it is she's talking about. And that is the problem with the modern left in America. Look, there are things that I do not understand. If you want to come to me and talk about meme coins and bitcoins and all different, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. You want to come up to me and talk about poetry? I don't know what the hell you're talking about. If you're a fan of cricket, I don't know why you're watching this show, but if you're a fan of cricket, I don't know the rules of cricket, so there's no point in me talking about it. But Democrats, particularly famous ones, never seem to really embrace the fact that, like, it's okay if you don't know what you're talking about. That's how you get videos like this one of Chelsea Handler speaking very confidently about things she just doesn't understand.
We're going to get Todd Blanche. He's going to be confirmed, and he's going to overturn Roe v. Wade. We're all sitting around, all these men who have these powerful platforms are sitting around watching this happen to women, to communities that you could instead be supporting. You don't have to like turn over a whole new leaf. It's just about being a decent human being. You know?
Now, a couple things as Kara Swisher nods her head. Now, Kara Swisher knows better, but she's not going to correct her guest. I'm not really sure why. Hey, Chelsea, a couple things. First off, attorney generals don't overturn Supreme Court cases. That's number one. Number two, Todd Blanche, even if attorney generals did overturn Supreme Court cases, he couldn't overturn Roe versus Wade because Roe versus Wade was overturned 3 years ago. You idiot. It's not what she said, it's the confidence in which she says it. It's the confidence. It's how confident she is in her own stupidity that really gets me. And I bet you she really closed out that interview and was like, I did a good job. I did a very good. This is why I don't. I know sometimes you guys come at me a little bit about it, but this is why I don't want The View to be taken off the air, because if The View ever does get taken off the air, we're all really going to miss out on some funny ass content. Luckily, people on the right have begun to make their own hilarious content. I showed you the other day, James O'Keefe and Cam Higbee going to Minneapolis with Cam Higbee dressed in a full burqa and attempting to vote in Minneapolis elections. Now, first off, this is funny in and of itself because it just is. But it's also it's funnier for me because I know Cam and I know how much fun he probably had doing this. We've now got more footage of this. It's just too good. Check it out.
Hello. Here.
Have you voted here before?
No.
No. Okay, well, go down to where it says voting, take a right, and they'll help you out in there. Hello.
Hello.
Register over there.
Hello, what is your last name? Is that and what is your first name?
Genevieve.
Genevieve?
And vouch.
I'm sorry?
Vouch.
She's vouching?
I vouch.
Oh, for her? And is she Genevieve?
No.
So are you wanting to vote first?
You're gonna have to make a phone call.
Yes. But can she vote if I vouch?
I'm trying to get somebody. No, good luck.
Does she live within this precinct?
Yes.
Yep, we can get her registered. So are you wanting to vote first though?
Yes, but vouch for her.
Okay.
So she vote. So if I vouch, she vote.
Okay.
Aye.
Is that right?
Yep.
Can I vote without ID?
Yes, if you're already in the system.
Okay. Okay.
Then you can vote.
Ooh.
If you're already in the system.
Hold on. I just need to point this out. I walked into this polling station with a random name of a random person who is registered to vote in this precinct. I am not that person. Here I am in full niqab, and this poll worker was prepared to allow me to fraudulently vote in that person's name without verifying that I'm that person. They don't need ID from me. They don't need to prove that I actually am Genevieve. They were just going to allow me to vote. They might have had me sign an affidavit, but nobody's going to check those affidavits, and even if they did, there's no way to prove Genevieve didn't sign it and that it was rather me.
It's like every day. It's like every day I come on this show and there's more evidence of shenanigans. There's more evidence of nonsense. There's more evidence that we have insecure voting systems. And I am just supposed to pretend. I'm just supposed to pretend like I don't see it. I'm just supposed to pretend like there's absolutely nothing to see here. And, you know, it really is incredibly frustrating. You know, I joke around all the time that the difference between conspiracy theory and fact is just a couple of months. I joke around about it. But every day it seems to be true. They would have let Cam Higbee vote in a state he doesn't live in simply because he decided to show up looking like a beekeeper. And look, if that sort of description bothers you, you know what bothers me even more is the fact that many of you will purposefully go out of your way to not accept reality, to not accept the fact that we have a problem in this country. And Democrats do it all the time. And Bill Maher pointed it out on his show over the weekend. We'll get to that in 1 second. Before we do that, Mike Lindell.
I'm excited to announce that we're having our first ever mega sale on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save over 50% on this season's flannel sheets. Queen size only $59.98. Kings only $69.98. They sell out fast every year, so order now. Save 20% on our brand new My Crosses. They're designed in the likeness of the one I've worn every day for over 20 years. They come in men's and women's, and they're made right here in the USA. Get our 2025 6-piece My Towel sets for only $29.98. Our initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. And our best-selling standard My Pillows, just $14.98. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use this promo code to take advantage of our first ever mega sale. But wait, remember that $75 free shipping rule? Well, that ship is sailed because right now, every order ships absolutely free.
Guys, head on over to MyPillow.com and use promo code LOUD. That is MyPillow.com, promo code LOUD for up to 80% off everything on the website. That is MyPillow.com, promo code LOUD. Oh, yeah, giddy up. Let's go. So Bill Maher decided to have some fun on his show over the weekend, pointing out liberal hypocrisy. And look, a lot of people don't like Bill. I've long said that Bill Maher always seems to be the first Democrat around the bend when it comes to pointing out the fact that liberals have completely jumped the shark. He's done it on the DSA candidates before, and now he does it on a little thing that Democrats will pretend isn't happening. And of course, that happens to be with, you know, one particular region of the planet.
Let me ask our audience, do you think gay rights is one of our values that's non-negotiable?
You would think that the audience by now, of watching Bill Maher all these years, would have known exactly what was coming.
Great, I'm going to hold you to it. A few weeks ago, a liberal Democrat named Melissa Chaudhry, running for Congress in Seattle, was asked why, among the many progressive causes listed on her website, LGBT rights was conspicuously absent. Because, she said, a lot of Muslims do not feel that way, unfortunately. Now, here's where liberal sphincters just tightened. Because they heard the word Muslim and have been brainwashed into thinking, oh, some Islamophobic bullshit is coming now. No, just facts. And a little honesty to the people who see everything as oppressor versus oppressed, but can't see who actually does a lot of oppressing. So let me ask, is this the progressive policy now? Is Ms. Chaudhry right? We throw gay people under the bus anytime it clashes with what makes Muslims uncomfortable? Last month, a gay cruise ship with 2,000 passengers that was sailing the Mediterranean had to turn around and change course because Muslim countries wouldn't let it dock. They tried to get into Turkey, and Turkey was like, no homo. They tried Egypt. Nope, just straight denial. Now, this poor gay cruise ship couldn't find a home. It was like the Grindr version of the Odyssey. But happy ending, they eventually sailed on to Greece, where the Greeks said, "Are you kidding? We invented that ship." But I gotta say, Egypt and Turkey, they have no problem saying, "Our culture, we just don't do that here. We need a little of that attitude here." How about homophobia? We just don't do that here. We will make you bake a wedding cake.
Now, of course, you would think after all these years, Bill's audience would have known exactly what was coming there, but apparently they just didn't see it. Apparently, of course, none of them will admit any of that in the real world or when they're hanging out with their liberal friends. They'll just pretend to be tolerant while they watch somebody get pillaged and raped on a train because suicidal empathy calls for that sort of thing. Suicidal empathy calls for that. In just a second, I'm going to go over a really terrible story, a really sad story. And it's really taken the internet by storm because of something that happened a couple months ago, which I did not see until earlier today. A young actress, Hayden Panettiere, who is, she's 36. I'm 37. I grew up. She was a little girl in Remember the Titans. She was in Nashville. A real rising. She's been in a lot of other things. That's just those are just the two things I know her from. Apparently died at her. Was it at a hotel room or where was it? She was found dead at the age of 36. At the time, no cause of death had been released. But since then, there had been, apparently it was an accidental overdose in her home. A representative for the actress told ABC News, "It is with profound sadness that we share the tragic passing of Hayden. She was an incredible light," all that same sort of thing. She began working as a child actor in commercials before landing soap opera gigs on One Life to Live and The Guiding Light. Her breakout role came in Remember the Titans, literally my favorite movie ever. I know every word of that movie. I've probably seen that film more than any other time on planet Earth. But then a sad story came out about what had happened to her when she was a young actress. And this was released in May of this year. And it's really got the internet taken by storm. There was no signs of drug abuse in the past. Apparently, Narcan was found in her hotel room. But this video came out earlier today, which has got everybody talking.
A moment in your career where a friend of yours takes you onto a boat, you're led to a room which has an older man in it, and then basically told to perform sexual acts and,
Oh, yeah. Perspective completely shifted, and I realized that I was in danger. But by the time I'd realized I was in danger, I was quite literally out to sea. And it was that moment shook me and was shocking. And I was quite literally walked down, and I had been having a great time. There was no hints of anything like that happening. So it took me, I was shocked. It took me by surprise. And it was led by somebody that I had grown to trust and see as a protector and somebody who had my back. And to be walked down the stairs, and it was as like a surprise, presented as though it was like a surprise. And it was this very small room, and she physically put me in the bed next to this undressed man who was very famous and had his hands like this, like this was just an average day for him. This is something that happens all the time. And I waited for her to leave. And I mean, that lion in me, that fire in me, that my hair stood on end, and I became ferocious. I was like, this is not happening. But I had nowhere to hide, and I bolted, and I hid wherever I could think of to hide on a boat. There was no jumping off and swimming away, and there was nobody who was going to, I realized that there was nobody who was going to be empathetic to my situation, that this was nothing new to them.
It is all of them. All of them. And not one will be able to escape.
I don't know what that Stephen Baldwin clip was. I guess I didn't have that one queued up. But many are suspecting, as she went on later in the, ignore that Stephen Baldwin thing. Guys from Massapequa, they're very odd. Many are suspecting that, as she later went on to say in the interview, she described the man as a 30-something British singer and songwriter. The yacht setting narrowed the field considerably. A photo from that alleged incident has begun to go viral. See if you can spot the British singer-songwriter here from that evening. Of course, that would be James Blunt. James Blunt, who writes the worst songs imaginable. And apparently that was her friend there on the right, the giant woman, whoever that is. So many people are suspecting that the person she's talking about is James Blunt. Obviously, I don't know. But that interview came out 3 months ago, and now she's dead. So that has certainly fueled the conspiracy tinfoil hat people, which we'll find out about that. Of course, this comes as a bigger shock as her younger brother a couple of years ago died at the age of 28. So now her parents have lost both of their kids in one of the saddest stories. It's always sad when a young talent dies like that. Like I said, literally the star of one of my favorite movies of all time. It's incredibly sad to hear. Meanwhile, you got these two parents who lost both of their kids, and then you get this story out of the state of Georgia, which sometimes I read these stories just because I have to get it out of my system, because there's no possible way for me to cope with things like this. A Georgia couple has been arrested for child neglect and sexual abuse after keeping their children living in a semi-truck cab for the last 7 years. Now, when I show you the photos of these two delights, I'm sure it will not come as a shock to any of you. Let's pop this one up on to the screen. Here we go. I'm sure this won't come as a shock to almost anybody. Let's read the story. A Georgia couple has been arrested in Florida and charged with keeping their 4 children locked inside of a semi-truck. 53-year-old Keisha Epps and Tamar Stewart were arrested in Duval County. Epps faces 4 counts of child neglect, while Stewart faces charges of capital sexual battery. Capital sexual, hopefully. Hopefully, Stewart is accused of sexually abusing his own children while Epps was driving the car, driving the vehicle. And I hear stories like this, and I just, to me, it really does blow my mind that, like, the amount of people out there that want kids that don't have them, and then there's ones out there that do and do shit like this. It's quite shocking. It's quite shocking. But guys, it's 4 p.m. I want to thank everybody so much for tuning in. Thank you all for putting up with the our little tech issues today. Make sure you guys keep it locked in here, rumble.com/LFATV all day today. Guys, make sure you share the video out, and I will catch you all back live tomorrow. Until then, everybody, stay loud.